5 centimeters of USDA Prime bone-in ribeye hitting a blistering cast iron grate. The sizzle is deafening. The white smoke smells of rendering beef fat and smoldering hickory, and the crust forming on the meat is a mahogany masterpiece. Barbecuing the perfect steak isn't about throwing meat over an uncontrolled inferno. It is an exact science of moisture control, ambient smoke, and searing thermodynamics. Today, we are tearing down the backyard myths to build the ultimate thick-cut steak from scratch.
The foundation of a perfect steak is time and salt. You must start with a massive cut, a 900 gram by 32 ounce bone-in ribeye, exactly 5 centimeters by 2 inches thick. First, score the fat cap lightly with a knife. Second, coat the entire surface evenly with 15 gram by 1 tablespoon of coarse kosher salt. Third, place the seasoned meat on an elevated wire rack over a baking sheet. Finally, refrigerate it completely uncovered for exactly 24 hours. The ambient temperature of the fridge, around 3 degrees Celsius by 38 degrees Fahrenheit, draws out surface moisture and then reabsorbs the seasoned liquid, drying the exterior completely so it can build an aggressive crust over the fire.
While that meat cures, you have to build a proper 2-zone fire. Start by taking 2.5 kilograms, 5.5 pounds of hardwood lump charcoal and lighten it in a metal chimney starter. Leave it alone for exactly 15 minutes until the coals are glowing orange and covered in white ash. Next, dump those coals and bank them entirely to one side of your grill. This gives you a dual temperature environment. You need to establish the indirect cool zone at a steady 110 degrees Celsius by 225 degrees Fahrenheit, while your hot sear zone directly over the coals should be pushing well past 260 degrees Celsius by 500 degrees Fahrenheit. You cannot cook a thick steak properly with only one temperature.
Now we begin the reverse sear. First, place the cold, dry brined steak onto the grates of the cool zone, as far from the direct coals as possible. Second, toss 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of dry hickory wood chips directly onto the hot coals and immediately close the grill lid. Let the meat smoke gently for exactly 45 minutes. You are bringing the internal temperature up incredibly slowly until it hits exactly 46 degrees Celsius or 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it reaches that temperature, remove the steak from the grill entirely. Let it rest on a cutting board for 10 minutes at room temperature, around 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, before we attack the final crust.
That short rest dries the surface one last time. Now we sear. First, pat the steak absolutely bone dry with a paper towel. Any surface moisture will steam and ruin your crust. Second, move the steak directly over that blazing hot zone, which is still running at 260 degrees Celsius, 500 degrees Fahrenheit. Sear the meat for exactly 90 seconds per side. You want the fat to render and blister into a dark, crispy bark. Third, check the internal temperature. Pull the steak off the heat the second the center hits 54 degrees Celsius or 130 degrees Fahrenheit for a perfect edge-to-edge medium rare. Transfer it immediately to a clean wooden cutting board.
While the meat rests, we build the chimichurri. This acidity cuts through the rich beef fat. First, finely chop 60 grams/2 ounces of fresh flat leaf parsley. Second, mince 3 cloves of raw garlic. Third, whisk the greens in a bowl with 30 milliliters/2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar, 120 milliliters/0.5 cup of extra virgin olive oil, and 5 grams/1 teaspoon of crushed red pepper flakes. Finally, leave the sauce to sit on the counter at an ambient 21 degrees Celsius/70 degrees for exactly 30 minutes. The oil extracts the essential oils from the parsley and garlic, marrying the sharp and earthy flavors together perfectly.
The hardest part of barbecue is the wait. First, tent the hot steak loosely with aluminum foil. Let the meat rest for exactly 10 minutes at an ambient 21 degrees, 70 degrees. If you slice too early, the pressurized juices bleed out. Resting lets the muscle fibers relax and hold the moisture.
Second, take any juices that pooled on the board and pour them straight into Mateo's chimichurri. Third, identify the direction of the mussel grain and slice perpendicular to it, cutting the meat into 1.25 centimeters, 0.5-inch thick strips. Finally, finish the slices by sprinkling 5 gram, 1 teaspoon of flaky sea salt across the pink interior.
A perfect steak is a triumph of patience and thermodynamics. 3 absolute rules to take to your backyard. First, you must dry brine the beef uncovered in the fridge for 24 hours to guarantee a dry surface for searing. Second, always utilize a 2-zone fire, slowly smoking the meat on the cool side before finishing it with a 90-second blister over the hot coals. Third, you have to respect the 10-minute rest before slicing against the grain. Huge thanks to Mateo Rojas and Jim Franklin for sharing their fire. Now go light the charcoal, mind your temperatures, and never slice a hot steak.